I love you. Let's go to Jerusalem together after my fight. That's a real text, sent to a man who, while she was typing it, was on a live stream telling the internet, out loud, that women are interchangeable. His exact energy. Lose one, order another. Kids optional. He said it laughing. And Chrisean read her whole letter on stream. Out loud. Voice shaking a little. Like she thought if she just phrased it soft enough, holy enough, seek God enough, the man with face tattoos who just had a baby with somebody else was gonna text back, "You're right, baby, book the flight." He didn't. He texted back something worse. And then he went live and finished the job. Y'all, before we open this whole thing up, tap that like, hit subscribe, ring the bell. This one's layered. If you're already locked in with famed Cryptix, thank you. Let's get in it. Here's the setup, plain. Blueface, legally Jonathan, just had a newborn with Nevaeh Akira. Superior, that's the baby. Meanwhile, Chrisean Rock, legally Carissa, is out in Baltimore training for a boxing fight, co-parenting Chrisean Jr. from long distance. 2 coasts, 2 babies. One man who keeps a live stream open like a diary. Chrisean sent a text. Blueface answered on camera. What came out his mouth in the next 40 minutes is the part nobody's slowing down to actually read. So we're gonna read it. Slow. Word for word. And before we get into the receipts, understand the geography of this thing. Baltimore isn't a random pick. Baltimore is where boxers go to disappear into gym life. It's a fight town. She could have trained in LA. She could have trained in Vegas. She picked the city farthest from the algorithm, farthest from the mothers of his other children, farthest from the couch he's currently sitting on. That's not an accident. That's a woman who understood, at some level, that the only way to build the version of herself she wanted was to physically remove her body from the zip code of the man she couldn't quit. So she flew across the country. She got a gym. She got a coach. She got a schedule. And then, from 3,000 miles away, she still wrote the letter. That's the frame we're walking into. Not a woman without options. A woman who had options and still opened a Word doc and typed the word Jerusalem. Now stack the other side of that frame. Blueface Jonathan is not in a gym. He's not in a studio. He's on a couch. And on the couch, there's a newborn. And in the corner of the room, there's Nevaeh. According to the same live stream footage everyone's been clipping. That is the room he's broadcasting from while Chrisean is in Baltimore. 2 rooms. 2 rhythms. 2 entirely different definitions of the word future. And a group chat sitting between them like a fuse. That's the picture. Now we read the receipts. Let's start where she started. This is Chrisean's text. Not a summary. The text. I know right now we're on the opposite sides of the country living 2 different lives. But after my fight, I want us to go to Jerusalem together. I want the trip to mean something for us spiritually. To get away from all the noise, seek God, and get clarity. Keep going. She's not done. I really want you to be involved with my boxing journey. Not just watching from the outside, but help me build it, document, control the narrative in a positive way, and turn this chapter of our lives into something powerful. And then the part that's actually the whole video in one paragraph. Either we really choose each other and build something beautiful, or we give each other the freedom to fully move forward. I just don't want us halfway loving each other anymore. That's a woman drawing a line. A real one. Now watch what he does with it. Before we get to his answer, sit with the vocabulary she picked. Spiritually. Clarity. Narrative. Build. Powerful. Those aren't heat-of-the-moment words. Those are journal words. Those are words a person writes down at 2 a.m., stares at, edits, and sends only after they've read them out loud to themselves, wants to make sure they still hold up. She used the word halfway at the end, and that's the word doing all the lifting. Halfway loving. Not unloving. Not hate. Not indifference. Halfway. She was naming the exact temperature of the relationship, lukewarm, and telling him, in plain English, that lukewarm was the one thing she wouldn't survive anymore. His response, first draft, soft. I love you. I'm down for you. Let's see after your fight where things go. Read that again. Let's see. Not yes. Not no. A holding pattern. She caught it too, said on stream. Basically like he put you off. Because she knew. Somewhere in her, She already knew. "Let's see" is the phrase of a man buying time. It's the phrase of a man who doesn't want to say no on record because the record is monetized. Because if he says no in text, and she reads that no on stream, half his audience, the ones who still root for Blueface and Chrisean as a unit, logs off. So he floats, "Let's see." It commits to nothing. It closes no doors. It also, and this is the important part, opens no doors either. It's a linguistic parking lot. Park the woman here. Come back when you've decided how much she's worth to the brand this quarter. Then he stops being polite. Screen recorded. Her voice reading it. "I'm not reading no more messages, to be honest. If you think you're valid for the role you played, I'm not even gonna lead. Yeah, I've been cheating on this since I've been home. Shane once decided to go cheat back. So I don't plan on leaving somebody that's for somebody that's gonna run." Translation: I cheated on purpose because you cheated first, and now that I have a loyal one I'm not trading down. He put that in writing to the mother of his child, while she's asking to pray with him in Jerusalem. And read the grammar of that response, because the grammar is doing something. He starts with, "I'm not reading," a refusal to engage. Then immediately he engages, and engages hard, laying out a full defense. "I cheated because you cheated. I have a loyal one now. I'm not trading down." That's not a man declining to read. That's a man who read every word, rehearsed his rebuttal, and hit send. The "I'm not reading" line is a rhetorical stiff arm, a way to reject her while replying to her in the same breath. It's the linguistic equivalent of slamming a door open. And she caught it. On stream, she paused after reading it. And you can see the second her face registers what he just admitted. He confessed to serial cheating in the middle of a rejection letter. And she read it out loud to an audience of thousands. Then, and this is the switch that broke half the chat. 3 messages later, same man. "You look pretty today. I miss you. What are you doing? Send me pictures." Whiplash. From, "I'm not reading your messages" to "send pics" in under an hour. That's not confusion. That's a system. Behavioral specialists have a word for that pattern, and it's not one Blueface would like. Trauma-bonded cycling. The cruelty establishes control. The compliment reestablishes hope. The compliment is not a mistake. It's not a moment of weakness. It's the second act of a 2-act play. Act 1, destabilize. Act 2, soothe. And the audience, the woman on the other end of the text, is trained, over months and years, to feel the soothe more loudly than the destabilization. She remembers, "You look pretty today," and forgets, "I've been cheating since I've been home." That's not a bug in her memory. That's the exact result the pattern is designed to produce. Now flip the camera. Blueface on stream, same afternoon. "If I get tired of this, go get me a new. If she want to take my son and have him around another, I'm going to go make a baby with another. I'm going to go get me another and another kid. Kid to swap them out. Kid to swap them out." He used the word swap. About human children. On a monetized live. Stop and count how many times he says another in that quote. 4 times. In 3 sentences. Another woman. Another baby. Another kid. Another swap. The repetition isn't stylistic. It's psychological. He's rehearsing, out loud, the idea that people, women, children are inventory. And repetition is how the brain converts an outrageous idea into a normal one. Say swap them out 5 times. And by the 5th time it sounds like a thing a reasonable man would say. Which is the whole trick. He's not just saying it to Chrisean. He's saying it to himself. He's building the callus. And the closer. "I'd rather be a deadbeat father than a dead or a doing life." He said the word himself. Deadbeat. Not the blogs. Not us. Him. Now think about what a person is really saying when they frame the choice like that. "I'd rather be a deadbeat than dead or in prison." That's not a genuine binary. Nobody's forcing him to pick between fatherhood and the body bag. It's a false trilemma, a linguistic move where you invent 2 catastrophic options, so the third one, the one you actually want, looks reasonable by comparison. He's manufacturing his own moral off-ramp on stream. And the audience, half of them, nods along. Because when a man builds the trap in front of you, in real time, and then walks into it, it feels like he had no choice. That's the con. He always had a choice. The stream is just where he laundered the choice into a soundbite. Zoom out. because the sequence is doing more work than any single quote. Dave. Chrisean drops the Jerusalem letter in the group chat and on stream. She's not hiding it. She's telegraphing. This is a woman announcing, publicly, that she wants a second chance before she's technically asked for one. Same window. Blueface is already live in his own room, holding Superior, the newborn with Nevaeh, on camera. He's rocking the baby while explaining, in real time, that mothers are replaceable and children are inventory. Nevaeh walks in mid-monologue. She doesn't hear the part where he says he'll abandon her and the baby if another man ever holds Superior. He repeats it after she sits down. She still doesn't catch it. The chat catches it. That's the horror shot. Next beat, Chrisean, still reading his texts on her own stream, transitions from the letter into, "But I believe God can do a new thing in Jonathan's heart." She's mid-plea and pivoting to intercession. This is not a woman negotiating. This is a woman praying at a man who just told her, in text, that he traded up. Underneath all of it, the Jaden Alexis layer. Because when Blueface says kids, plural, to swap them out, he's not just talking about Chrisean Jr., he's talking about Javon too. He said kids, plural. Jaden is in that sentence, whether she reads it or not. Mechanics nobody's naming. Whack 100 Shadow is all over this. The livestream model, pay-to-play chat, gifted subs, tier lock shoutouts. Sweet Nene, get out my chat you didn't pay. That's not hip-hop drama. That's a monetized coliseum. The more chaotic the personal life, the more subs. Every deadbeat quote is a paid stream unit. The incentives are pointed the wrong way on purpose. Now let's stretch the timeline back further, because this incident didn't start on the day of the Jerusalem letter. It started years ago, and the pattern was visible then. Rewind to the reality show era. Rewind to the arrest cycles. Rewind to the pregnancy announcement footage, the one where Chrisean did an ultrasound reveal on stream while Blueface, again, was on a couch. Again, making faces that read as amusement rather than anticipation. According to widely circulated footage from that era, he questioned paternity out loud, on camera, before the child had even been born. He set the tone of the fatherhood arc before the arc technically began, and the internet clipped it and moved on. But the tape didn't move on. The tape is still there. It's the prequel to Swap Them Out. Rewind again to the earlier Jaden Alexis era. According to reporting from multiple hip-hop outlets, and I'll be careful to say reported rather than proven, Blueface has, on livestream, on multiple occasions, described Jaden as the loyal option and Chrisean as the wild option. That framing is not new. That framing predates Nevaeh. Nevaeh is not the loyal upgrade the way the current stream is trying to package her. She's the third slot in a pattern that Blueface established on camera years ago, in his own words. Which means the kid to swap them out line isn't a spontaneous outburst. It's the mission statement of a program he's been running out loud for half a decade. And here's the timeline echo nobody's clipping. Rewind to Carlisa Saffold, Blueface's mother, and the interviews she's done over the last few years, describing her son as a hustler first, a father second. Rewind to her interviews where, according to her own YouTube uploads and public streams, she warned multiple women publicly that he's not gonna change. Carlisa said on record that any woman who came into her son's orbit was signing up for a program, not a partnership. She used almost the exact language he's now using. That's not coincidence. That's a script he was raised inside, which doesn't excuse a single word he said this week. But it does explain why the words sounded so rehearsed. Because they were. He's been rehearsing them his whole life. Now bring it back to this week. Layer the sequence on top of the pattern. Morning of the incident. Chrisean posts a training clip. Just a training clip. No caption drama. Then she goes quiet for a few hours. Then the letter drops. Afternoon. Blueface is already live, already on the couch, already holding Superior. The letter hits his phone. He reads it off camera. He replies, "Let's see." Then he reads her stream and realizes she's reading his replies on stream. And that's the moment the tone changes. Because now he's not responding to Chrisean. He's responding to Chrisean's audience. He's responding to his own audience, watching Chrisean's audience. He's now performing for 3 rooms at once. And when a man is performing for 3 rooms, he picks the loudest possible line to keep the numbers up. Swap them out is that line. It's not the truth of what he feels. It's the loudest thing that would keep the concurrent viewer count from dipping. That's what the timeline shows if you watch it in order. Evening. The reaction streamers pick it up. The gossip pages pick it up. The Twitter clip factories pick it up. Within 6 hours, a private text has become a public referendum on both of their entire personhoods. Chrisean, still on stream, watches the reactions come in. And she keeps reading. She reads past the pain. That's the moment I keep going back to. She had the option to close the laptop. She didn't. She kept reading. Because at some level, the pain being witnessed felt more real than the pain being felt alone. That's the timeline. That's the sequence. And once you see it in order, it stops being a scandal and starts being a study. Rewind one line and just sit with it. Kid to swap them out. For words. He didn't say have another kid. He didn't say start over. He said swap, which is retail language. Return and replace language. The way you talk about a defective charger. And notice what he does linguistically the whole stream. He never uses his children's names when he's threatening to leave them. It's always the kids, them uff. Third person, distancing pronouns. But the second he's on camera holding superior, the baby has a name, a bio, a John's Jr. intro to the audience. Present baby equals branded content. Absent kids equals them. Watch the tell on Chrisean's side too. She reads his cheating confession out loud. The I've been cheating on this since I've been home line. And her next full sentence isn't anger. It's, and I quote, I believe God can really do a new thing in Jonathan's heart. The pivot to redemption arrives inside 3 seconds of the pain landing. That's not spiritual maturity. That's a coping loop. That's a woman who learned that if she stays angry, she loses the fantasy. So she flips it to prayer before the anger can finish forming. One more. The you look pretty today. Send me pictures message. Look at the placement. It lands after the cheating confession. Not before. Not instead. After. That is textbook intermittent reinforcement. Cruelty, then a crumb. Cruelty, then a crumb. It's the exact rhythm that keeps somebody booking flights to Jerusalem for a man who told them, in writing, they were second. Let's go deeper on the forensic linguistics, because the pronoun story alone is worth 10 minutes. Track every time Blueface refers to a woman across the 40-minute stream. According to the clips that have been circulating and the direct transcriptions people have posted, Chrisean is almost never Chrisean. She, her. The wild one. The one running around. Jaden is almost never Jaden. She's the mother of my kids. My baby mama. Nevaeh, who's physically in the room, is she and her. Even when he's referring to her while she's 4 feet away. But Superior? Superior gets a full name, a full bio, a full presentation to the camera. The infant, who cannot yet be a threat, is a named individual. The 3 women, all of whom are threats to the program, are pronouns. That's a hierarchy. And it's carved into the syntax before it's ever carved into the behavior. Now go forensic on Chrisean's letter the same way. Count the pronoun structure. She uses we and us 13 times, by the count some fans have posted. She uses I less than half as often. She uses his name, Jonathan, not Blueface, twice. She uses the word chosen. She uses the word secure. She uses spiritually. Those are all high context, high vulnerability words. In discourse analysis terms, she's operating in a we frame. He's operating in an it frame, where women are it, children are them, and only the current baby is a. 2 people in 2 entirely different grammars, trying to have one conversation. It couldn't have landed. The grammars don't overlap. There is no shared subject-verb-object between them. Forensic tell number 3. The timing of the send me pictures pivot. Track the clock. According to the screen recordings, the cheating confession lands at roughly the 22-minute mark of her read aloud. The you look pretty today. Send pics. Text lands at roughly the 41-minute mark. 19 minutes apart. 19 minutes is the exact window where a chat cools off, where gifted subs start to dip because the emotional peak has passed and the audience is looking for a resolution. He didn't send the send me pictures text out of remorse. He sent it out of pacing. He sent it because the stream, both his and hers, needed a second act. And nothing produces a second act faster in a live stream than a message that says, "Wait, is he coming back?" That's not romance. That's a producer's note. Fourth forensic layer, the laugh. Multiple viewers noted, in real time, that Blueface laughed when he said, "Kid," to swap them out. Not a smirk, an actual laugh. And the laugh does two things. First, it distances the speaker from the statement. A man who's laughing isn't fully accountable because he was just joking. Second, it invites the audience into a complicity contract. If you laugh with him, you're on the team. If you don't, you're not fun. And in a live stream economy, being not fun costs him nothing, but being seen as not fun costs him subs. So the laugh is a monetization tool. It's the punctuation mark that keeps the chat inside the joke instead of outside it. He didn't laugh because it was funny. He laughed because laughter is how you get people to stay past the cruelty. It's the same reason sitcoms have laugh tracks. Cue the audience when to feel safe. Fifth, the Nevaeh couch shot. Watch her body language, per the clips that are circulating. She's not looking at the camera. She's not looking at him. She's looking at the baby. Her whole world, in that moment, is a 6-pound human. And her partner is, in that same moment, 6 feet away, telling the internet that he'll leave her if a man ever holds that same 6-pound human. She misses it because her attention is where a new mother's attention is supposed to be, on the child. And he uses her tenderness as a stage. That's the frame nobody's slowing down for. He didn't say it to her. He said it around her. She was the set dressing for a monologue about her own replaceability. That's not romance either. That's a hostage tape with better lighting. Watch how differently this same 90 minutes is being framed, depending on which corner of the internet you're standing in. The gossip pages picked one image, the deadbeat quote, clipped it clean, ran it as a standalone. No text, no letter, no Nevaeh on the couch. Just Blueface saying the word, which makes him the whole villain and Chrisean, the whole victim. Clean, viral, wrong. The stand corners flip the exact same footage. Their clip is the "send me pictures" line, and Chrisean smiling as she reads it. Their caption, "She still got him." Same 90 minutes. Opposite verdict. The reaction streamer Lane, the one this footage actually comes from, did a third thing. They laughed at her. Openly. On camera. Framed her as delusional. Called the whole thing the poop show. And turned a woman reading a heartbreak letter into a punchline set. The line, "You trying to headline in the poop show again," got clipped harder than anything Blueface actually said. 3 outlets, 3 villains, 1 footage. None of them slowed down long enough to notice the actual story is neither of those people individually. It's the format. The live stream itself is the antagonist. It rewards him for saying swap them out, and rewards her for reading the Jerusalem letter, and rewards the reaction host for laughing at both of them. Everybody in the frame gets paid to keep it ugly. That's the part getting lost. Nobody's talking about the room is being filmed in. And now let's talk about the fourth corner of the split. The corner that always shows up late and always shows up loudest. The moral commentary lane. The pastors. The advice column TikToks. The as a woman, ladies listen clips. Within 24 hours, according to the pattern this platform runs every time something like this drops, that corner had produced its own reframing. Chrisean as cautionary tale, Blueface as symptom, and the audience as jury. Every one of those videos ends with the same 3-part structure. First, recap the drama. Second, extract a life lesson. Third, pitch a product or a Patreon. That's not commentary. That's an ecosystem. And that ecosystem needs Chrisean and Blueface to keep going. Because if this relationship ever actually ends, quietly, off camera, without a public announcement, an entire content vertical loses its recurring character. So the incentive across every corner of the split is the same. Keep them entangled. Keep them clickable. Keep them producing. And then there's the fifth corner, which almost nobody names, the algorithmic feed itself. Not any specific creator. Not any specific outlet to feed. The way one platform's algorithm decided, within 6 hours of the incident, that this was a peak engagement story and started surfacing it to users who had never followed a single person involved. According to the way platform recommendation systems have been documented to operate. And I say documented because it's the closest thing we have to a real answer. Content with high emotional volatility gets amplified past content with high emotional resolution, which means a woman asking a man to fix things gets pushed. A woman actually fixing her own life gets buried. The algorithm doesn't want Chrisean in Jerusalem alone finding clarity. The algorithm wants Chrisean crying on stream. Because clarity doesn't have a hook and crying does. So the fifth corner, the platform itself, is not neutral. It's picking a version of the story to make bigger. And the version it's picking is the version that keeps her stuck. Sixth corner, the fan account economy. The dedicated pages that exist solely to track this couple. Some have hundreds of thousands of followers. According to public sub counts on those accounts, some of them have grown by 5-figure numbers in the days since the incident. They didn't earn those followers by covering a boxing match. They earned them by covering a text message, which tells you exactly where the market is, and which tells you why every version of this story, the gossip framing, the stand framing, the reaction framing, the moral framing, the algorithmic framing, the fan account framing, refuses to let this couple exist quietly. Silence isn't monetizable. Silence isn't clippable. Silence is the one thing none of these 6 corners can sell, which is why silence, if it ever comes, will be the loudest possible move either of them makes. Okay, famed Cryptix take. And I want to be careful here, because this is the part where it's easy to pick a team, and I don't want to pick a team. I want to pick the truth. Chrisean is not stupid. Let me say that first, because half the internet is running that lap right now and it's lazy. A stupid woman doesn't write that letter. Go reread it. The structure of it. She acknowledges her own accountability. She names the specific fear. I didn't always feel chosen or secure. She gives him an out. We could love each other for what we were and peacefully live our lives separately. And she puts a boundary at the end. That is not a delusional text. That is a well-written breakup or reconcile ultimatum from somebody who's been in therapy or at least been in a lot of church. The problem isn't the letter. The problem is who she sent it to. Because Blueface didn't respond to the letter she wrote. He responded to a letter that doesn't exist, one where she was begging without conditions. And that's the tell. He can't read a woman drawing a line. His whole framework requires the woman to be lesser, needier, dumber. The dummy, in his own words, I'm not going to leave a dummy for a bigger dummy. He literally cannot process a partner as an equal. So when Chrisean sends a letter that reads like an equal, he schemes it for the parts he can weaponize. She wants me back. And ignores the parts that are actually the thesis. Either choose or free me. Now flip it, because Chrisean isn't innocent of the machine either. She read that letter on a live stream. Before he'd even fully responded. She turned a private plea into content in real time. Which means somewhere in her, the goal wasn't just Jerusalem. The goal was also for the audience to see her ask for Jerusalem. She wanted witnesses. And once you want witnesses to your love, you're not really writing to him anymore. You're writing to the algorithm. And the algorithm rewards the reading, not the reconciling. That's the actual tragedy under this whole thing. Both of them think they're communicating with each other. They're not. They're both performing at each other through a chat that's paying per gifted sub. He calls his stream a program. No hoe is bigger than the program. And I don't think people caught how honest that word was. It's a program. It's a system. It processes women through it. Chrisean is trying to have a spiritual conversation inside a factory. Of course it's not landing. And Nevaeh. God, Nevaeh. She's on the couch. She's holding Superior. She missed the part where he said he'd leave her the second a man held her baby. She missed it because she was changing a diaper. That's the most brutal frame of the entire stream, and nobody's talking about it. She's already inside the program, and she doesn't know the terms yet. Chrisean's on the outside yelling, "Don't sign the contract." And Nevaeh can't hear her because the baby's crying. Round and round. The uncomfortable version of this take. Chrisean might genuinely be the smart one in the room, and it doesn't matter. Because smart doesn't save you from a man whose whole business model depends on you being interchangeable. Praying for him is not going to fix it. Fighting for him is not going to fix it. Jerusalem is not going to fix it. There's no version of this story where she wins by staying in the conversation. The only win is the door. And I don't know if she's ready to walk through it. Because you don't write a letter that clean unless part of you is already halfway out. But you also don't read it on live stream unless part of you is still hoping the audience will vote you back in. She's split down the middle. He's not split at all. That's the mismatch. Let me take that one layer deeper, because he's not split at all is a sentence I want to make sure people actually hear. There is a specific psychological profile, and I'm not going to armchair diagnose him, because that's cheap and also against the rules of doing this responsibly. But there is a specific pattern of behavior, well documented in relational literature, in which a person doesn't experience internal conflict about contradictory statements because the statements aren't organized around a belief system. They're organized around a goal system. And the goal system in Blueface's case is keep the stream growing, keep the household stocked, keep the leverage. If two contradictory statements both serve those goals, both statements are true simultaneously in his internal logic. I love you. And swap them out. Don't contradict each other for him, because they're not competing beliefs. They're two different tools for two different audiences. He picks up whichever tool the room needs. Chrisean, meanwhile, is operating on a belief system. Belief systems produce internal contradiction. Belief systems produce guilt, prayer, letter writing, and Jerusalem trips. Belief systems produce the sentence, either we really choose each other and build something beautiful, or we give each other the freedom to fully move forward. That sentence cannot exist inside a goal system brain, because a goal system brain doesn't recognize, or as a real word, everything is and. I can have Chrisean and Nevaeh. I can have loyalty and infidelity. I can have let's see, and send pictures. And. There's no or. There's no fork in the road. There's just more road, which is why the letter didn't land. Chrisean handed him a fork. He looked at it and saw a spoon. Now let me say the harder thing, because famed Cryptix doesn't do this show to hand out easy verdicts. The harder thing is this, the audience, including me, including everyone watching right now, including everyone who clipped this incident, is also part of the goal system. We are the reason swap them out was worth saying out loud. Because if there was no audience, that sentence never leaves his mouth. He says it because we are on the other side of the screen, and enough of us are going to laugh. Enough of us are going to gasp. Enough of us are going to click that the incentive math on saying it works out in his favor. The audience is the third partner in this relationship, and the audience never gets called on the bill. So when I say Blueface is not split at all, part of what I mean is that the audience isn't split either. The audience knows exactly what it's doing. The audience is paying for the swap. The audience is subsidizing the program. Chrisean is trying to have a two-person conversation in a three-person room, and the third person has the microphone. That's the layer I want to leave on the table before we go into what comes next. Because whatever happens in the next 30 days, whoever walks, whoever stays, whoever posts the quiet post I'm about to describe, the third partner in this relationship is going to keep watching. And the only question is whether Chrisean, or Nevaeh, or Jaden, or any of them, ever decides that the third partner has been the villain the whole time. So where does this actually go from here? Let me lay out what I'm watching for, because this story is not over. It's mid-chapter, and the next 30 days are going to tell us which version of Chrisean shows up, and which version of Blueface finally gets called on the bill. Watch the fight. She's got the Baltimore camp. She's got the training footage. She's got the momentum. If she wins that fight, and this is the part nobody's tracking, the leverage flips. Not romantically, financially. A winning boxer with a documentary-ready comeback arc doesn't need a live stream cosign. She becomes her own program. And the second she becomes her own program, the Jerusalem letter looks less like begging and more like the last polite goodbye before a woman closes the door on her own terms. That's the version I'm rooting for, if I'm being honest. Watch Nevaeh's next 90 days, because the swap them out quote is on tape now. It doesn't go away. Every time she scrolls, it's there. Every time a friend sends it, it's there. And in this world, the mother who wakes up always wakes up in public, usually on a live stream of her own, usually holding the baby, usually with a caption. If she leaves, Blueface whole, no hoe is bigger than the program, bit collapses in a week. Because the program only works if the women stay in the frame. Watch Whack 100 silence. He hasn't touched this one publicly, and that's louder than anything he could say. When Whack is quiet, it usually means the numbers are still working. The second the numbers stop, the second brand deals pull, the second the streams dip, you'll hear from him. He's a lagging indicator. Keep an eye on his next interview cycle. If he suddenly starts framing Blueface as misunderstood, that's the tell that the pressure landed. Watch the kids' names. I mean this literally. Track whether Chrisean Jr. and Javon start appearing in Blueface content again by name or stay in the them kids pronoun zone. Because language reveals custody. If they stay pronouns, he's checked out. If names come back, somebody in his camp, probably Jaden, probably Carlisa, pulled him aside. And watch Chrisean's next post. Not her next stream. Her next quiet post. The one without commentary. The one that's just a training clip or a Bible verse or nothing at all. That's the tell. Silence from her would be the loudest thing she's done all year. If she posts nothing for a week, she's out. If she posts a subtweet, she's back in. Me personally, I hope she goes silent. I hope she takes the trip to Jerusalem by herself. I hope she comes back with the clarity she asked for in the letter and realizes she was writing to a version of Jonathan that hasn't existed since Superior was born, if he ever existed at all. But I've watched this cycle too many times to bet on it. Wash, rinse, repeat. One of the reaction hosts said it, and honestly they weren't wrong. It's just that this time, one of these three people in the room might finally break the loop. I don't know which one, but somebody's about to. Let me add a few more markers to the watch list, because the story is bigger than the 5 points above, and I want the audience walking away with a full radar, not a partial one. Watch Carlisa. Blueface's mother has been the wild card in every Blueface incident for years, according to her own public streams and interviews. She'll be quiet for weeks, and then she'll go live at 2 a.m. and say the thing everyone else in the family was too scared to say. If Carlisa says anything at all in the next 30 days, anything, even a subtweet, even an emoji, that's the domestic weather report you need. Because she's the only person in that ecosystem who has the standing to publicly call her son on the bill and survive it. Nobody else can. Not Chrisean, not Jaden, not Nevaeh. Only Carlisa. So if she moves, everything moves. Watch her feed. Watch Jaden Alexis. She's been operating in a music-first, drama-second mode for most of this year, according to her own uploads and rollout schedule. She's had singles out. She's had performances. She's been building something on the other side of Blueface chaos, which is the smartest business move any of these women have made. If she suddenly re-enters the drama cycle, an Instagram live, a subtweet, a wait, y'all really believe this? Moment. That's the signal that the loyal one framing Blueface has been running is finally being contested from the inside. And if she stays quiet, that's also a signal. It means she's decided the music is worth more than the moment. And that's the version of her I hope wins. Watch the reaction streamers. Specifically watch which ones pivot. The ones who laughed at Chrisean on day 1. Some of them are going to start softening their framing by day 10. That's not because they suddenly grew a conscience. That's because the audience mood shifts when the pain gets clearer, and the reaction streamers follow audience mood the way a weather vane follows wind. If you see the same host who called it the poop show suddenly doing, "We need to talk about how we treat women on stream" episode, that's not growth. That's a pivot. And pivots are worth noting because they tell you where the collective sentiment has moved. Watch the brand deals. This is the boring, unglamorous, financial side of the story that almost nobody covers, but it's where the outcome actually gets decided. Track which brands were tagged in Blueface content in the 6 months before this incident, and check whether they get tagged in the 6 months after. If the tagging drops, the sponsors got skittish. If it holds, the incident got absorbed. Sponsorship math is downstream of drama math, and drama math is downstream of quotable moments. Swap them out. Is a quotable moment. Now we get to see if it's a quotable moment that hurts the wallet or one that helps it. Both are possible. Neither is decided yet. Watch the Boxing Federation. Chrisean's fight card is real, according to the promotional footage that's been circulating. That means real sanctioning bodies, real weigh-ins, real drug testing, real everything. She's not doing a novelty match. She's doing a fight. And fights have narratives attached to them. If she wins, the narrative is redemption. If she loses, the narrative is she was distracted by drama. Which means the drama is currently costing her the narrative before the punch is even thrown. That's the leverage math nobody's naming. Every stream she does about him costs her a stream she could have done about the fight. Every emotional minute she spends reading his texts on camera is a minute she's not spending on tape-hitting mitts. And that math will show up on fight night, whether the audience wants to see it or not. Watch the kids themselves, as much as the kids can be safely watched. Not their appearances on camera. That would be gross of any of us to track. I mean the absence of them. The care with which their names get invoked or not invoked. The way both parents talk about them in the periods when they think the mic is off. Because ultimately, the kids are the only real people in this story. Chrisean, Blueface, Nevaeh, Jaden, Carlisa, Whack, all of them, at some level, have chosen the stream. The kids didn't choose anything. They were born into the algorithm. And how they get talked about in the coming weeks is the truest tell of whether any of the adults involved are actually trying to change the pattern or just rerun it. That's the fuller watch list. 6 points from the original, 6 more from me. 12 markers. And in 30 days, we'll have 12 data points. We'll come back and check them together. Because Fame Cryptix doesn't drop a story and disappear. We come back and read the receipts. That's the read. If any part of this hit, the letter, the swap them out line, the Nevaeh frame, drop a comment telling me who you think walks first. Like the video. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so the next drop finds you. Fame Cryptix. We'll see you in the next one.